Welcome back, SMITE fans, to the Founder Series. I almost said North America at the beginning. I almost messed it up. Founder Series Playoffs North American Edition, Week 2. I could probably add some other superlatives to the end of it, but we are qualifying teams to land, the knockout land, in December, which will then take out 2 teams, and then we'll get to Vegas in January. My God, it's right there.
So
in fact,
close.
if you think about it, so today, what we'll call it, like halfway over, so a half day, 4 days, I believe, of LAN in
Thursday,
January.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah,
That's
4 days.
I said January, I meant December.
4 days, yeah.
And then 3 Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
7.5 days.
That's 7.5 days of competitive SMITE still ahead of us before we have a winner of a $300,000 prize pool in the hi-rez Arena, Las Vegas. It's going to be awesome. And, of course, we've got to figure out who's going to be there, and that still starts right here, right now, where we are. Let's take a look at the bracket and see how things have shaken out up to this point, which if you're not paying attention, if you haven't been joining us, first off, where have you been, dude? Come on. We've been live for so long, like 5 hours. You also probably are a little surprised to see that Cowabunga is down in the losers bracket. It literally just happened. It's insane. 2-1 Food Drive for Globe. Not only win that set, but they stamp their way to the LAN. So they're going to be joining Team Name, but with 5 M's. And that means we have a couple of matches to play out. Now you can see updated between the last time we were here and where we are now is Scrumptious, sitting, waiting patiently in that losers round 5 for an opponent between Borscht and Cowabunga. Whoever wins that, man. I don't know if you truly win overall. I mean, you're going to have to go against Scrumptious. It's nothing but powerhouses down there. Of course, we've mentioned it. Food Drive for Globe, Team Name but with 5 M's, maybe a surprise to you guys, is a seeding match, simply put, and it's just to determine groups that are going on in December. Whoever wins that, they're going to be going up against, or I guess drafting against Team Risk is the better way to word it. And then we'll find those matches as we actually get to that LAN and get a little closer. That's going to be in a couple of weeks, so don't think too far ahead about it. As of right now, what you need to be thinking about is our next matchup, J-Mac, and it is, in fact, Cowabunga versus Borscht that we are going to be watching in the losers bracket. And remember, this one, while it doesn't have the qualification status on it, it is lose and go home. It is lose and you are done. It is lose and your tournament is over. The Founders Series is over for you. And when you have seen the names on these rosters, when you've seen what these teams have done, when you look at them in Swiss, when you look at them in the open bracket, when you look at Cowabunga, who won all of the alpha tournaments, you get a little concerned and confused and excited and a bunch of different emotions welling up, and all of them get to come out in cheers and cries and excitement and hype and incoherent screaming, obviously blatant rambling that come from me. It's going to be a really, really fun one to see over the next couple of minutes, maybe hours, who knows?
Maybe so. I think the big kind of takeaway for me in this matchup in particular, and for really any team that kind of goes against Borscht, is that we haven't really gotten a true lockdown on Borscht, because they started their season with one part of a roster, and then part of that roster kind of shifted around, and then they had another roster, and then part of that roster shifted away, and then now we have the roster that we're at today, which hasn't been the full, complete, this is our roster for the entire duration of this. Where meanwhile, Cowabunga, this has been Cowabunga since SMITE 2 launched into closed alpha. So there's going to be a little bit of that weighing in on Borscht. They've been able to make it work up until this point, but now they got to go back against the, well, I guess I can't even say the top dogs anymore, because Cowabunga no longer is the top dog, but one of the top teams that have just been dominating all the way up until this point.
Yeah, it makes things, again, kind of interesting as we move forward. You get to look at it, and very importantly, and this is a discussion because we've gotten to sit down with some of the players from Borscht, things like that. We've gotten to talk to them over the course of time. I believe we had some conversations with Cowabunga as well, but this kind of knowledge that, like, Borscht, like you said, kind of making those changes, is that a sign of, hey, we saw something was wrong and made changes to improve? You know, where are they? Do they feel like they're their best selves is really the biggest question. I think the answer overall was kind of, yeah, I actually think they do, at least from their perspectives, which means this next match, whenever we get into picks and bans, whenever it starts off, whenever we jump into it for however long, that is going to be just some of the best Smite 2 that maybe we've gotten to see up to this point, and I have a strong feeling that's going to be the case because it was the case for the last set, it was the case for the set before that, it's going to be the case for the next set and the set after that. I don't think we have anything bad coming up over the next 2 months. And so without further ado, game number 1, picks and bans. And now we get to see, again, maybe a little reset, right, as we come through, figure out what these teams are prioritizing for this week and what they are trying to, let's call, lock down a little bit more. Chalk and Anubis have been very popular down there in the ban column. So has that guy, Sobek. He got banned before I could say it, but it feels like there's a lot of gods that have been favored by some teams, ignored by others, bouncing back and forth between them. Anubis, though, has been pretty high up there. Admittedly, it feels like 3 weeks ago for EMEA, it was like lock in the Anubis first pick, and then he just fell off the face of the planet and then came back yesterday. Now, well, he's back even more alongside the Baron, or I should say up against the Baron on the other side.
Yeah, Baron isn't quite as popular as he was on kind of his launch week. You know, first time that he gets to play competitively, he is like 95% banned, and then like the one game he got through did really good, but has fallen a bit from grace since then. Maybe not quite that first pick necessity or that must ban style of material compared to what maybe the Sobek is now, and even sometimes in cases the Kurnos and the Zeus. The big thing that I have to kind of double back on with the roster, and the one thing that has been consistent, the one thing that has stuck with this Borscht team the entire time, has been Rat Milk's jungle. Rat Milk Jungle has been the only consistent, because at one point it was Pagon playing in mid lane, Awesome Jake and FineOK were kind of bouncing around. We know who's going to be the support. Baskin was in the solo lane for a bit, now moved over to mid. Panda Cat was on this roster and not on this roster anymore. The only consistency that's been there has been Rat Milk, and Rat Milk has been one of the dominant carries for this team. If Rat Milk can get off to a hot start on this Loki, he has the potential to absolutely fry this game, but he's got to get that ball rolling, and Borscht have to give him that opportunity to get in there. Loki is going to be one that once level 5 it hits, now you want to start making that rotation, and depending where this Raw lands, my guess is going to be solo, considering Anubis is already locked in. Get some pressure in solo lane right away. Throw SOT off his groove and try and deny some of that farm to this Raw, and try and get your solo laner, whoever it may be, ahead at that time. This dual lane is going to be one of the hardest ones to fight for Borscht as well, because you have Yamoja and Jingwei. You're very unlikely to kill a lane like that, because Riptide is almost impossible to chase through for Yamoja. Worst case, you throw up the giant water walls, and unless you got Phantom Shell, you're not walking through that one. And then worst case, absolute worst case for Jingwei, she's got Airstrike. Fly away, gone, who cares? And then she comes back full HP like 10 seconds later. This dual lane is likely going to be avoided by Cowabunga, and I think that the focus needs to go into the mid or the jungle to try and get themselves ahead. And more than anything, just deny Rat Milk an opportunity to get into the game. If you can keep Rat Milk at bay for Cowabunga, you have found one of your biggest keys to success.
I know one of the things that has been interesting to watch with Borscht specifically, and this just comes up because, like you mentioned, the roster changes, was I got to talk to FineOK at one point, and I asked him about them because I was like, hey, not many teams have gone through these. What's up? Like, how did things line up? And he's like, well, I played solo in the past, so like that was kind of pretty easy. And he's like, but the easiest thing was Pagon wanted to play duo. He wanted to go play carry. So now the question is, how good of a carry is Pagon, and how will he match up against hardcore? It's going to be excitement to watch. It's Borscht. It's Cowabunga. It's the losers bracket. It's game 1. Of course, it's your casters.
Thanks, guys, and I can't believe it's the losers bracket, but it's Cowabunga versus Borscht. It's Malum and Trelly Relly. It's Anthony Squared to finish off the Founder Series tournament leading into the knockout LAN. It's going to take me the entirety of game number 1 to get used to these two teams being here, Trelly.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get used to it even knowing that fact, but we do get to see an absolute banger matchup, and the fact that we are finishing up the regular part of this Founder Series before we get to the LAN environment doesn't feel real, right? We've been doing this for quite some time now. This tournament's been going on, all culminating in this, and you'd think by now teams would be ready for a 5-man grouping, and it does seem that Aurora and Phantom are aware that everyone from Borscht is rolling up. I assume they've got their abilities hotkeyed on their leap just in case they have to level it.
Lots of combat blinks across the board. 4, matter of fact, for Borscht. 1 Sunder in the pocket of Awesome Jake. There's a bit more variation. At least there is a shell. That was a problem we were seeing it feels like all of yesterday into, at the time, a lot of Umoja Odin, but in this case, just the MO of nobody wanted to grab a Phantom Shell, and it was biting people in the rear every single time they were refusing to do it. So exciting to see the Phantom Shell up. Roar and Pantom step up, aware of 2. They've got Yark here. There's a step forward. A stun gonna find the Yemo already. Jake in trouble, but the bubble does some work to keep Aurora back and slow down Cowabunga.
I like the attempt, but where we go from here? Just one Sunder. That one goes to Aurora, and of course, Awesome Jake also has it. So you're just betting on getting the better end of the Sunder. All the while, Sod is going to have to fend for the red and the blue by himself. This is a gamble that Cowabunga is taking. They're going to get the better end of these trades over on the left side of the map, but already Awesome Jake taking a lot of damage. And this is the issue with this play. They can't go for the buff as long as Aurora is here. So just send Yark into lane, start clearing. Try and get ahead of Pagon. Pagon recognizes this and says, you know what? Who cares about the purple buff? I don't want to miss any farm to just minions destroying each other. So probably a smart call. Or just stalling out eventually is going to go in for that Thunder to try and take it away. But you can see Ratmilk already coming to mid.
Looking for Paul, gets damage on. Remember, there's a blink, and there it is, just in time to get away from further damage. Panatom jumped in and looks for the stun, but there is a full minion wave, and Paul is not level 2 to step up, and Panatom almost paid the price, but does not, so still no first blood, despite all of the anxiety-inducing dancing this early on.
Yeah, definitely pay attention to the consumables on the side of Borscht. I mean, there's 5 Baron's Brews. That just means there's extra damage always available for everyone on the side of Borscht just to be able to send out whenever they want. Aurora still sitting at level 1. Sunder does come through from Awesome Jake just to confirm that speed buff, so not going to be brutalizing just yet over in that duo lane. But we just got to witness a fantastic Loki game. Now Ratmilk picking up that pick as well. Not the greatest early on, but scales so well into the late game. And in my opinion, the best thing about him is he is incredibly easy. Like there is not any skill shots you have to worry about here for Loki. You can stealth in, get all your damage, ult out. You can blink in, stealth, get a kill, reset. You can ult in. There's just so much value there to be had. So I'm taking the damage. Where's the brew? They didn't have it all. If they had 2 brews, man, there could have been a kill coming through for sure. But it looks like they might have already used it. Definitely one of the benefits of Raw is having that extra level of sustain. So shouldn't be too much in trouble over on the right side of the map. But man, the action doesn't stop, Malum. There's been a lot of scrapping over in duo lane as well.
And I wonder the kind of fighting we're going to see this game. This is an elimination in the losers bracket, but it is best of 3. So this first game you have to play with. But I mean, going into Founders, these were 2 of the top 4 teams that everyone expected to be borderline shoo-ins, and just it was, okay, who's going to be the odd team out between 5Ms, Cowabunga, Borscht, Scrumptious. Now you've got 3 of those teams in the losers bracket. I mean, that's going to be a lot of world championship rings being worn at the watch party for Vegas.
I mean, that's true, but let's be clear. Cowabunga was in a league of their own for the time being. A lot of damage coming through, a lot of blinks flying through as well. Everyone, except for Paul, used their blink to get out of trouble. Great time to get away from Baskin, though. He just ticked over to level 5. Oh, well, Sod is definitely getting pulled back. That should be the kill. Do you have the wrap? Can you juke it?
The Brew missed.
Nothing else. Brew missed. Still chasing down. The final case diving the tower.
Really wants it. Gets the miss. The wrap makes it a first blood for Fine. Okay, running back behind that tower. And Borscht off to an early lead. I guess it doesn't matter you missed the Brew. You missed the first version of the wrap. As long as you can just step through like that. No answer. I mean, everybody was on the left side.
And yeah, I'm just a little confused, though. It seemed like Sod just didn't believe that Final K would walk through the tower. But he had no problem doing it. Yark is here. No Rivers Rebuke up just yet, so Awesome Jake can't really find the catch. A lot of damage coming through. 2 more autos might do it. And the slow they want to die, but a Phantom Shell should keep Yarkor out of trouble for the time being. But look up above. Aurora's on the way. Only sitting at level 4, though. No Ragnarok can come through.
There's the jump for the stun, but ult on line for Pagon. It's going to be very tough to kill, and you've got Panatom here working on the purple. The blink it's engaged on, but it might still work out. The rebuke and the walls all down equals a Jake kill on the Yark. Pagon with the knock-up. Aurora should be okay to get this, and does. And it might be matched by Panatom, who doesn't get the stun. Puts the chase on, and not going to have the damage to jump. Should be good enough after the last auto, so it works out real good for Cowabunga on the left-hand side, even if not the cleanest.
Yeah, 2 for 2 there, and you could tell Ratmilk did not care about the fight that was going on in left. He was actually chilling in mid lane, waiting to see if Paul was going to step up. You know they've got that cooldown on his blink locked in. They said 12 more seconds. If this Anubis steps up, we get a free kill. Does not happen. Something that you all at home need to remember is that when Baskin, when he uses his ultimate, he gets access to your relic as well. So if you want to blink in with the Morgan, then transform into someone with blink, you can use it a second time. That just provides so much safety to a pick like the Morgan. So Baskin can play up. He can turn into Loki. He can turn into Anubis. He can turn into Odin if he would like, because he doesn't really have to worry about being out of position. And Atom's here just trading not very evenly with Rat Milk. This Loki surprisingly gets the better end of the trade. And Malum, something that we've seen a lot more recently, especially in the jungle, is this Transcendent start. I mean, for a while, it was like Teko, Kagi, or Yoda's Revenge exclusively, but Transcendent's not the greatest stat item right away. Once you stack it up, though, a lot more damage is going to be coming from this Odin.
Maybe that pays off, because so far it has been a slow start. You pointed out that Rat Milk is prioritizing farm, which for the majority of the time, I suppose unless we've seen Rat Milk playing Thanatos, it has always been the Rat Milk way of, I'll be in the jungle until I'm desperately needed, and then you guys will see me. So maybe the Transcendence will pay off. If there's no fighting, if it's a slow burn into the mid and late game, by the time everyone is fighting, if Pantom has Transcendence stacked on top of a different power spike to come after, could be looking in a pretty good spot.
Can I just say that I love this adaptation that Borscht has made just to try and deal with this ever-present growing threat of the raw solo. I mean, time and time again, it was something like Blink, and you're going to see this constantly, where SOT, right now you can't ult if you're fine, okay, you're going to get smacked in the face with a searing pain, but look at the relic choice. He went Blink, so now he's forced into building first item purification. He needs that beads, and it's not going to be on. Oh my goodness! Got him! And Jacob by the Dark Omen and the explosion from the bubble bounce. I mean, it wasn't quite a solo, but I might as well just give it to him, man. Bastion is owned.
Sot in trouble, will blink away, has Rat Milk nearby on the blue, and it looks like it's going to be a dive to look for the raw. Rat Milk will take one more tower shot. That makes it a real dangerous play. The life of the party, try to save Rat Milk out. The blink away is good. The talisman from Sot will keep him safe, and Rat Milk lives as Baskin picks up another one in the mid lane. This one onto Aurora.
Man, that enhanced auto attack needed to land onto Rat Milk, but he was able to blink away. All the while, this Fenrir has not been able to hit Pater on just about anything. I mean, the dogs have not been combining much, Mal. Both Anubis and Fen falling very far behind. I mean, I think that goes to show, like, obviously the Anubis is going to get good pressure in mid, but if you showed some base here, good ultimate for Paul. Doesn't quite have the tick damage. It's close. And the Blink's coming through once again. Point being, of course, Anubis has damage, right? That's not going to go anywhere, but he can't just get pressure for free. Once you put some presence towards Paul in the mid lane, he's forced to sit underneath the tower and just farm.
This whole game feels like an advertisement for combat blink stocks.
Yep.
They've got to go through the roof after this.
I'm not doing it. Like, don't get me wrong, they're great, but now let's look at the cooldown. For 210 seconds, Paul is going nowhere. Like any bit of CC. Yeah, Basket has a chance to find a solo kill for the next 200 seconds. Is basically what I'm saying here. You got to hold on to your ultimate just to threaten with damage if you are Anubis. Late game, not going to matter. But as of now, yeah, you have to play so safe if you are Paul at the moment. I am wondering, though, because, again, there's already a big lead here for Final K in solo lane. Will we see this Baron rotate out to an very early Gold Fury? Definitely a possibility. Those teleporters are ready whenever needed. And I think Baron would be a great addition. Take a look at this. He's already heading over. He's teleporting right now. Oh, he's going to proxy. Okay.
That's Prophetic online as well, so we'll benefit for Final K to rotate more rather than less and pick up more stacks. Of course, easier to get stacks on the tower. The fight will happen behind the tower. Rat Milk is on the way to help out. Pantom will get there slower, so Sot in too much trouble and will go down without much resistance, which forces Panatom to call off the gank in response. And now that teleport will be used to head over for Borscht. They could be looking real pretty for a Gold Fury.
And they might be looking at Yarkor underneath the tower. Maybe they don't even need him. Yark doing the damage. He just stalled, though. The rest of the squad's on the way.
And he drops just like that. Jake with the credit. Aurora, not much alone Fenrir can do. Baskin pull in damage on a Paul, but needs more. Blink forward, can't find it. Meanwhile, Gold getting pulled. Aurora, the lone answer for the time being from Cowabunga to try to get the steal of that Gold Fury. Down below half. Or seemingly prepping for, but can't find the clear way in. It's not there still, and it goes down. Borscht with the first Gold Fury.
Real way to try and contest it. Baskin doesn't have any ultimate or blink. This needs to be a kill. And Paul gets the credit for that one. Could have went and helped the team at Gold Fury, but really wanted that solo kill. Got a little bit baited, but now it looks like Final K's in some trouble. He may be the target. Waited out the coffin perfectly. Do they have the damage, though, through the sustain? It looks like yes.
Yes, indeed. The last pop coming from the flashbang of SMITE, making it 4-6, but gold still looking good for Borscht up to this point. Hold on to a decent lead. The Gold Fury certainly helping things out. Let's not forget the first floods that we saw as well. 2,800, just below the 2,900 mark. Experience, though, much more even. And in a matchup like this, with the kind of rosters that we have in front of us, Trelly, that experience might be more important to watch.
Only could be. I'm amazed that Pagon was a level down for a second. Probably only half a level, but considering how much Borscht has put into this duo lane, like, Yark has been sitting underneath his tower constantly. I'm guessing it's just all the duo farm. Like, Awesome Jake has been pretty much babysitting Pagon since the game started, so splitting all those waves definitely will start to add up. Remember, though, no blink onto Baskin for the next 30 seconds, so he would have to use that ultimate to get out of the cage from Panatom. That's why you see the Odin sort of hovering him around mid lane at the moment. But help is never too far away, and Rat Milk was lurking, trying to see if Paul was going to make his way through. And this is great discipline by Paul as well. Bro has not left the tower line. He understands perfectly that he is the target, and if he does step any bit out of the tower line, there's likely a Yamoja there to River's Rebuke. There's likely a Loki there to go for the Assassinate, and who knows what Baskin wants to transform into just to try and find that solo kill. It's been Loki, or sorry, it's been Anubis time and time again, but there's always a chance he switches it up. Goes for something like the Fenrir to pull him out of the tower himself. Like, you always have to be careful, and Paul knows that better than anyone.
The later we get, the less time I think we're going to have to talk about build. So let's talk Baskin build, because not one I feel like we've seen too commonly on the Morgan.
Oh, yeah, this is the tech nowadays, man. You get Doom Orb, you get Gemma Focus. You have something like 522 movement speed leaving base, and then you add the decoy into the tower, and now you're cooking. This is actually my raw build verbatim, just because I like zooming. And what does the Morgan do if not make crazy fast rotations? It's just the best way to try and get your mid laner attack as a second jungler. And who do you want more as a second jungler than like a pseudo assassin? That's exactly what the Morgan can provide. Probably goes into something like Divine Nexus that's super necessary, but regardless, he's going to be absolutely zooming across the map.
Plus, think about what that can add to team fights the later we go if the Morgan's able to basically be self-healing just in terms of how fast the Morgan can move around and be unbothered by the rest of the goings of the team fight. So keep your eyes on Baskin the later and later we go. And grouping around the right-hand side, not a lot to grab up, but there is 4 members here for Cowabunga. Awesome Jake's been waiting in that spot just now, teleporting for a while. So you have to assume that there's something big on the horizon. It's all for this Queen Naga, maybe, but no, just rotations around. I mean, there's timing right, though.
Yeah, there was a chance that Sot stepped up into River's Rebuke, but as you mentioned, there was no one even close. Aurora did walk up and try to sunder the Queen Naga. I don't think that was too worth it for one to jump him down, and he dies for it. Now, Paul, you might be in some trouble. I'm going to give the damage to find the kill, the blink.
Get back here, Paul. Go down, Paul! Rational picks it up, and the fight will continue with Panatom being in the mid lane. The Searing Pain almost able to get a hit on the basket, but will not find it. Now SMITE in no man's land, getting run down by the remaining members of Borscht. I think you just got to go, SMITE. I think that's the play here. Same will be the case for Panatom, and they both will get away A-okay. Not before they lose 2, and before that, don't forget, Borscht grabbed up the Queen Naga buff, so they've got those Queen Naga minions as well as some gold in pocket, and they go right to mid-tier 1, so even more gold in pocket.
Great time for the Gold Fury to spawn back in. Why not go in for the pull here? Root going on to Panatom, does have to leap out. Looks like not in too much danger for now. The Gold Fury needs to be the target here. Paul teleporting back to mid. It looks like they're going to go for the pull here, Mal, but they don't have that much sustain. If anything, Cowabunga might have the opening to go in. Not a lot of HP bars, and you can tell Borscht is heading back to base. Do they feel aggressive? No, Panatom's leaving, so I don't think anything comes from this. Oh my goodness, the cooldown.
Bringing Aurora right back. A lot of damage on, but backup is here. So Borscht will go to walk away. The Searing Pain won't find a hit. On to Fine, okay. Now the turnaround. The gaze is out from Paul, but the damage is on. Is there going to be further engagement? Borscht sure is! Ratmilk's around the corner to find the killing spree. Baskin will grab one up too in the form of Solo or Troll. This could open up gold, but you gotta survive first! Because Yark was around the corner and finds big damage with a Wild Hunt. This is a new fight for Cowabunga, and they want to make the most of it. Aurora goes in with the fight, cannot find one so far. Ratmilk's still alive, will finally be shut down by Aurora, but that time it took. That gave cooldowns back to Borscht. They've got those cooldowns to good effect, but they cannot find the additional pick, and York is still throwing out glaives to find the double through, and gold will get pulled by Cowabunga. Borscht lose 4.
My goodness, Yarkor shows up big for Cowabunga. There's so much damage. They're going to have to pass this one back and forth. Oh my goodness, Awesome Jake has it left though. Can he find the bubble bounce of the century? They reset it. They're too low. They can't go back in for the goal. They have to let it go. They gave so much respect to Awesome Jake, and now he's going to stop their backs. This may be a chance for Borscht to go in. They don't have the respawn timers, unfortunately, but that is so huge from Jake.
That is crazy. That's so unfortunate if you're rooting for Cowabunga right now. The way that goes down, you get the fight of your dreams, considering the circumstance of what had happened prior, just for it to blow up like that at gold. And while the experience charts had the giant skyrocket from it and gold's working its way up, what that gold theory could have brought to those charts would be an even game. Instead, you've got Borscht pulling the Pyromancer and Cowabunga looking for an answer. Aurora cannot do it. So more gold and another objective go to Borscht.
I mean, worst case scenario, Jake gets a double kill and steals gold. So I think all things considered, you're happy with Yark being the most fed character on the map currently, and you'll deal with the rest later, right? You'd much rather just reset that than let Jake walk up and take it. But Jake, we got a little bit of a dog bringing it back. Get plenty in there. It's coming for Paul. Looks like they might want a little bit more.
Cage is out. That rebuke not going to do much to help Jake out. Fought a little bit of time, but couldn't stop the double kill. Going to Paul. So now evened up on the kill feed. It's this game coming up on 17 minutes. Still the gold lead for Borscht. The Cowabunga. They're going to pull the gold Fury, and it seems like there won't be an answer from Borscht. Just everyone's too far away. So 1-1 in gold Furies now as well. I mean, not the matchup we expected to have in losers, but once we got it, it's living up to the newfound hype.
Yep, so far, just completely even. And Aurora has really shaped up here. Not the best early game from this Fenrir, but has been hitting pay dirt on a lot of these Ragnaroks. 2 beads have been picked up so far, 1 for Fino and 1 for Awesome Jake, but you catch Baskin without him, could be in some trouble. Pagon is here, not quite tanky and has beads. Not enough to get away, but can anyone show up to help this Ra? I don't think so. Pagon picks up the kill thanks to the party. Finally, man, that life of the party, even through beads, even through, I mean, Sot didn't use his ult, but could have. He was not able to escape there. And Fireshine on the cards here, or are they just looking to push a tier 1?
Tier 1 did fall in duo. Borscht aware. And it looks like there's definitely consideration. Still no pull. So that will not be the case. Instead, maybe there's a pick. Aurora's found, gets the jump away. That tier 1 still up in solo for Cowabunga, which will slow down any push and any chase for picks. But Borscht is definitely on the pick hunt, Troy.
Does seem like the rotation has come through. Paul still clearing over in mid. Finally, Fire Giant, 18 minutes in, has started up. SOT just spawned in. Does he have a teleporter to get him out of base quickly? Pay attention to Aurora. He's trying to wrap around the back line.
And matter of fact, Sot did have the teleporter. Already went to the tier 2. Didn't go to the tier 1. H off the Panatom. A lot of damage on to Pagon, who is indeed gone. Aurora went to the back line to look and see what he could find. Did not find much. A reposition from Paul will get caught by Ratmilk. Now with Ratmilk having taken out the Anubis, can you re-engage to the rest of the fight? Maybe even save Jake. Is there a rest of the fight? Final Cage sure thinks so. Goes in aggressive. Looks for the stun. Will find a lot. Aurora has to get away, but York cannot. And goes down to find okay. Next up, Solar Troll, slowed down, mezzed out, but not dead. Not picked up, there it is. Baskin cleans it up. That's gonna be 3 dead on Cowabunga. Only 1 fell for Borscht.
Panatom still in a bit of trouble here. The tier 1 tower is not the bastion of safety it would appear to be. Do they try and dive this? The answer is no. Fire Giant still on the cards here for Borscht. I doubt it. They don't have the DPS. They're going to attempt it. Aurora, does he have his Sunder available? Yes. Can he get here in time? Absolutely. Pagon's not even here yet. You're going to have to watch out for the big dog with the Sunder. Not easy to try and counter, but a Runic Bomb's in Baskin's pocket.
Will the bomb or the Sunder come out on top? Will Borscht even fully commit? Aurora stepping away. Gonna be closer for Panatom, who's already into the Fire Giant pit, but cannot get it. Aurora's a chance, can't get close enough. Borscht get the Fire Giant from Cowabunga, who could only watch. It'll be a full disengage. So the aggressive play call works out big time for Borscht.
That's interesting because this is a play that I would expect, like from prime Cowabunga, just to go in even. You've got plenty of time, but it wasn't even. Borscht had a little bit of a lead, and they definitely had the manpower. Go in and push. Pagon has been really liking this early Kins, which is an item that a lot of ADCs haven't really been building till later on in their build. Doesn't really help for DPSing down a Fire Giant, but seems to be working out just fine for Borscht. Again, I've been highlighting this, but Yarkor is still the most fed on the map. Level 18 currently for this Cern, and it's getting plenty of farm. Just ticked over to 19. There's no one within 2 levels of this Cernanos. So I think one more item, and Yark could be an absolute menace in these team fights. Already has been pretty clean about confirming kills. If only Paul could have that same level of safety. Unfortunately, it's just not in the cards for Anubis. You have to position yourself perfectly to live. But the damage is definitely coming through here. Yark went back, picked up that Kins, and another tier 2. I mean, just pay attention to the DPS, man. The tanks are going to start to look a lot less tanky when around this Cernanos.
And it's, when you consider the amount of fighting that we've had and how it feels like every fight has sort of 2 or 3 sections to it, it's a chapter book, then the damage Yark is outputting gets even more scary. Gold Fury will go down to Borscht, no answer from Cowabunga, the second one thus far, so adding to their team buffs overall. They still lead 14 to 11. Sitting on 3k gold as well. Jig spotted Panatom.
Probably
for the middle.
Cage, right?
Ragnarok will look for it. There's the cage. Will they fully chase? They'll let the cage go out, but look around the side. Final K with the cutoff. Gets Nez as well.
There we go.
Looks for the pull, but it gets picked up
Roar's
by
on point.
Aurora. So Panatom gets away, and Aurora actually looks to turn this into opportunity with the Ragnarok. Will not find anything. Gets riptide it back into the River's Rebuke, but will not get caught and gets away. Great play from Aurora to help keep Panatom safe.
Yeah, I mean, Panatom has had the cage to get out there. Once Final K shows up, Aurora has a very simple play to make. Yarkor trying to trade tier 2 for tier 2. Question is, does Borscht call the bluff? Do they push in for the Phoenix? So far, it seems like it. It's going to be a while before Yark can get here, but it's still risky to dive this Phoenix, even with the Runic Bomb. There's no minion wave, and they don't have a lot of ultimates. Remember, Malm, they were already used to try and kill.
Feels like without that rebuke, do you even want to take the risk? You could use Baskin to make that play happen. We'll see what the options are for Borscht. Already a lot of damage on the Final K. Life of the party will come out to see if they can bring anyone back in. They've got damage on. They're going to pull back 3. The Talisman to help save things out, and Rathville took advantage and brings down Panatom. Sot low in the back. The blink forward for extra damage from Final K. Cannot find it. Aurora looking for a new way in to set up. Still have Paul standing aggressive, but Yark stepped too far and got caught. So does Paul, and Borscht able to take out 3 at the Phoenix line. A lot of towers still standing. This is not going to be easy.
They've got an ultimate here from Ragnarok. They look for the kill. They just look for the damage. It seems like they want Sot dead, but he still has blink. As you said, not easy. There's plenty of sustain here.
Down to half on the Titan. Gonna be a real close call, but you got enough members. You have enough damage. You can even lose people to the fountain. Borscht will take game number 1, and Cowabunga, they're on a losing streak now. What a world we're living in.
Man, I mean, that Fire Giant pull was clean. They pulled it confidently. They knew exactly how much damage they could take. There wasn't a steal potential because Aurora could not get in. And I got to give MVP here to Final K. Those Baron ults were detrimental to the team fight. Not only was it pulling beads, it was still pulling key targets. Panatom, I'm pretty sure, blinked and jumped away. Still took a lot of damage. Paul also got sucked in, didn't get stunned, but he got so weak after blinking forward that Pagon blinks to the back line, finishes the kill onto Anubis, and now who's clearing waves? You've got tanks to try and defend your Titan. My goodness, man, Borscht, they have shown the answer to the raw solo seems to be Baron. I mean, you are forcing out a second item beads, which means you're not that tanky and you don't have that much damage, and you're still getting every other Baron ult on you. I don't know. I don't know if I'd be going back to this raw solo anymore.
And we wondered how they were going to shut down Yark, and it turns out the way to do it is cause so much confusion. You get Yark like where do I go next? And it
Yeah.
worked out for Borscht. They take game number 1, and Cowabunga now in a losing streak. Where do they go from here? We'll find out when we get back from the short break.
I don't wanna waste a minute. Don't have any plans, wing it. If you got a glass, fill it. 'Cause I need it now. Money is in it. I don't wanna think about it. So if you know the song, sing it. 'Cause I need it now. Take me to a place where the music's loud. I don't wanna think right now. Flashing lights running through the crowd. I don't ever wanna stop. So let's get out, let's get out. I got money in my pocket and I'm about to f***ing drop it with you now, with you now. Tear the roof off every building, I know I'll be spending millions with you. Just tell me what you wanna do. So let's get out, let's get out. I got money in my pocket and I'm about to spend it all. I don't wanna waste a minute. Don't have many plans, wing it. If you got a glass, fill it. 'Cause I need it now. Money is in it. I don't wanna think about it. So if you know the song, sing it. 'Cause I need it now. Take me to a place where the music's loud. I don't wanna think right now. Flashing lights running through the crowd. I don't ever wanna stop. So let's get out, let's get out. I got money in my pocket and I'm about to f***ing drop it with you now, with you now. Tear the roof off every building, I know I'll be spending millions with you. Just tell me what you wanna do. So let's get out, let's get out. I got money in my pocket and I'm about to spend it all. About to spend it all. About to spend it all.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Founders Series Playoffs North American Edition. Gormizer, J-Mac, and if you didn't get enough of us here, or if maybe you wanted more very specifically, I guess, edited and also different than just competitive content, things like Smite Too Long Didn't Watch, or This Week in Smite, and This Week in Smite 2. Wow, we do both. Those other things, like the Osiris's Offerings, where we played Hangman, there was some trivia in there.
Some player interviews in there?
Some player interviews. The player interviews are probably going to be those are more interesting and recent. So make sure that you go click on those. But yeah, no, there's a lot that you can find on youtube.com/SmitePro, and I recommend it because there's a lot of good content there, and of course, I think it's a good way to help give context to maybe some of the other stuff. Well, some of it's just for funsies, but then some of it can also maybe apply context to stuff that's on SmiteVod that you should also be subscribed to wherever you happen to go. youtube.com/SmitePro. Just make sure that you're checking out all our videos. For a while we were doing shorts. I think we still have some of them that are going up every now and then, little clips and things like that. So make sure you're just hanging out watching, and make sure you stay here and hang out and watch. So really what you need to do is tab over to that, keep our audio going, you'll hear my voice, go to Smite Pro, subscribe, be there, maybe keep the tab open if you're like interested and you're curious, then come back over here until we're done, and then you can go there later, okay? It's like a little sweet treat, a little dessert after the broadcast is over.
During the little 5-minute, 10-minute breaks between games.
That's actually legitimately what I do.
just put on a little video, have something to go. While the ads are running over here, you can watch some videos over on YouTube.
But new tab. That's the important thing.
Yeah, gotta keep it on different tabs.
Because otherwise, what's gonna happen is you're gonna come back and you're gonna get hit with the pre-roll ads, and you're not gonna be happy about it because that might be happening while you're in a game. So you want to make sure you keep the tab open so that they specifically stay and happen exclusively when the breaks are going on.
Yeah.
All of that to lead into this. Cowabunga lost another game!
What is happening, man? We walked into this weekend.
I'm going to say sorry to headphones. That was a little louder than I meant it to be.
We walked into playoffs seeing who had made it, knowing who had dominated all the way up until this point, and going, all right, cool. So, who's joining Cowabunga in the top 3? And now we're sitting here questioning, is Cowabunga even going to make the top 3? Borscht played phenomenal that game. They had a couple of slip-ups here and there, some bad fights in mid. Paul was able to get a couple of really good picks on the Anubis. But the thing that made this composition so devastating was that pick for Baskin there in the mid lane. The Morgan just changes the dynamic of the game and the dynamic of team fights so heavily. So much, in fact, look at one item that's bought by multiple people on the side of Cowabunga. I count 1, 2, 3, 4 Talisman of Purifications for Cowabunga because you need that many to fight against not just one Baron Samedi, but as we saw in that final Phoenix Siege, 2 Baron Samedis that you had to fight against. And even with all of those, it was only just barely enough to keep them from being pulled into the coffin, from having multiple people pulled in, stunned, and dying. And instead, they just kept sitting there taking damage tick after damage tick because while they're not getting officially pulled all the way in and stunned, they're still stuck in that perpetual state of going forward and going backward and going forward. So you just have Yark on the you have Pagon on the side on this Jing Wei just going auto for auto for auto for auto, Rat Milk walking in for backstab for backstab for backstab, and there's just nothing that Cowabunga is able to do. No amount of healing is going to keep you from the damage that is just being pumped right back at you. So going into game number 2, if you're going, here's the thing. Nobody's really playing the Morgan right now. It's not like she's the best god in the game. In fact, she's one of the more risky gods to play just because sometimes there's issues with her ultimate where you might might not work out the best for you. So it's a very risky god to play at the moment just because of some of the issues with her. But Baskin was willing to take that risk. And in situations like this, when you are looking at qualification potential and elimination on the line, sometimes you got to take those risks. And Baskin took it, and it worked out so well because you get double Baron. Or if you need one, maybe get a double Yamoja at some point. Those are the risks that you have to be willing to make if you want to get to the land. And Borscht take that risk, and it pays off perfectly for them.
Well, J-Mac, we're good for picks and bans. Game number 2. This is the question of and maybe alterations. Borscht, pick number 1 here. Cowabunga on the other side. So the question is, what will the bans be? Are there going to be any adjustments? What kind of changes will we start to see? And will Cowabunga, I can't believe I'm saying this, be able to bounce back? They are facing elimination from the Founders Series. That's crazy.
If I had a nickel for every time I had to say, can Cowabunga bounce back and succeed to bring it to a game number 3, I'd have 3 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened thrice so far. Once in open bracket, and now twice just today, back-to-back sets. Cowabunga on the back foot. I'm honestly shocked that Borscht goes for this play immediately by drafting the Morgan in first spot. Sobek and Baron banned away. I think that's great. I think that Sobek is one of the best gods in the game at the moment, so make sure if you're not going to draft him first, you just take him away. Baron plus the Morgan was the big problem that Borscht was giving to Cowabunga last time, so I think that banning the Baron is probably the safer bet, because then this cuts down how dangerous the Morgan can be, but it isn't 100% guarantee. You can still do the Morgan plus Loki, so it's good for Cowabunga to take the Loki away, so you're not dealing with 2 really annoying assassins that are just
the one, you know.
Having 1 assassinated in your back is bad enough, but having 2 of them is even worse. So I like this change up here from Cowabunga to say, okay, take away the problem. The Baron was the biggest problem. Don't let them have 2 of them, and now let's take away the Loki to take away the potential of doing so again. So this is a really smart adaptation here by Cowabunga into their first top 2.
Man, I am really, yeah, like you said, a top 2 Loki chalk. We've seen a lot of power. The Baron Samedi, what's really interesting to me is I got so used to personally just kind of ripping on Baron Samedi because, like, let's face it, dude was not winning a whole lot. Like, when he did, it was a top team winning, and so it was like this weird balance of, is he good or are they good? And then you'd see other teams play him, and it's like, he's not the win button that everybody else thought he was, so it just must be they're good. But he performed well enough, and like you said, in a lot of these comps lately, he's been performing well. But if you've been trying to deal with healing, and you're trying to maybe, or you're maybe worried about that, or you just want it on your side, we've been talking a lot about the Raw. We mentioned Baron. Yamoja has to be in that conversation, and the Yamoja play I've seen over the last few weeks, I mean, it's been a treat, right? We get nothing but really, really great Yamoja players. That being said, historically, and this is SMITE 1 context, so it maybe doesn't apply as much, Jake's Yamoja, he played a little too aggressive for maybe the style that she wanted, and so it never fully clicked. So we'll have to see how that works out. Borscht also getting the Kernanos, who I feel like has been the kind of the bully, like he's the one who's getting bullied as opposed to the one that's been bullied.
Victim?
There you go. You're right. There's a word for it, as it turns out, guys.
I think the biggest thing that sticks out to me for this Cowabunga comp is this is the first game, if I'm not mistaken, today that Paul is not playing the Anubis. It's been taken away from him and put into Borscht hands now. So Paul swapping over to the Zeus, this is something that Paul was playing at SMITE 1 for the short time where Zeus was really meta, and Paul plays it pretty much the same way he plays every other god. I'm going to sit back, I'm going to farm, I'm going to wait till I get a couple items, and then I'm just going to own at that point. So we'll have to see if he's still got the Zeus, because we just haven't seen him play Zeus in a hot minute.
Well, I am excited. Zeus has been a pretty big powerhouse in
good.
the right hands. I feel like Paul might be the right hands. The only way to find out to see, will Cowabunga get eliminated? The only way to find out is with our casters in Game 2.
Thanks, guys, and will we find out is the big question. And the god selection, it's a new life for Cowabunga, but Borscht, they're bringing out old reliables, heavy hitters, you name it. It's Malum and Trelly, and I don't know, I was watching that picks and bans, 1 on pins and needles, and 2 looking to see if what we had talked about off air, Trelly, if your predictions would come true. And I got to give you credit, despite it being off air, you were absolutely on it for Cowabunga's draft.
Yeah, I just wanted to see Sot on something that wasn't Raw, because I think that pick is, I don't think it's came and went, but there are answers to it. And of course, Borscht found those answers heavily, and I was like, dude, put Sot on something like Chalk. We've got that. And I wanted Panatom to prioritize Loki and make sure it didn't go over to Rat Milk, and we got that as well. Everything else can, whatever. I think those are the 2 big issues, because I think Paul can play something immobile like Anubis, or in this case, like Zeus, if Sot and Panatom are able to, threaten the damage dealers on the side of Borscht, which on a Loki and on a Chalk can definitely happen. Don't get me wrong. I get chills when I see the Rat Milk Thanatos, but I went on record, and I'll say it 1,000 times. Loki is infinitely easier than Thanatos. You have to be playing lights out to win that 1v1. And even if you are, Loki might just accidentally kill you, because that's just how the kit works in comparison. So definitely watch out for that one as the game continues. You can see Rat Milk at his speed, already a roar on the way. Did just drop a ward on the speed buff. We got to do a Sunder roundup. And of course, Aurora, he's packing one. So is SOT, but only one for Awesome Jake. So where's everyone starting at? Looks like Aurora is just proxying the way. Okay, I was going to say, like, by himself, finally, our course showed him. He's a little bit late, but they are attempting to go in for that invade.
The invade for Borscht will make that proxy feel way less bad. Still not great, but you get the farm away. We saw how that mattered last time with all the attention at invading the left-hand side, which has become a theme, especially in these 2 weeks of playoffs. The attention to the left side, getting those timers because of how it can bleed into the Gold Fury has stayed so important. And by the way, they're still hanging out. Cowabunga is still in that proxy zone looking for the second wave. That's crazy work to have stayed there, and one might even get caught. Meanwhile, mid lane, Panatom low, but not low enough to commit, especially with Rat Milk dealing with now 3 charges online. This is gonna be a nerve-wracking dance to watch. I feel like the Thanatos has to be something we pay so much attention to. Rat Milk has gone to this pick in high-pressure moments a lot in the Founder Series, and usually it pays off pretty well. First blood potential, but the Phantom Shell will bail out Yark. Now Jake, the one in trouble, but should be okay to get away.
So far, no problem there. The junglers are not going to be getting active in duo lane anytime soon, but that Phantom Shell seemed quite necessary there. Pagon is on point with that early game. I mean, you got Yamoja for Awesome Jake and the Cern. Like, that is a lot of clear potential and even kill potential over in duo, and that's why I thought maybe we would see Panatom head over to duo just to try and bail them out, but there was some action in mid, and it looks like he was more focused on that for the time being. Asking on this Anubis, of course, Blink is going to be the option, but Paul did make a small switch up. Just decided to pick up an Aegis. No Phantom Shell unless he's near Yarkor, so once the Rivers of View comes around, maybe some problems coming through.
Feels like it was a tough choice because it was go Phantom Shell and prepare for the Yemo, or grab the Aegis to try to help you against who's going to be a Thanatos that is certainly going to be eyes on Zeus the majority of this game. Baskin in some trouble, but uses the get out of jail free card in the form of Blink to get away, and it'll be all right. But now the Blink is gone. Charlie made this point a lot in game 1, but if you look at the timer for that Blink, 227 seconds without it now for Baskin.
Definitely something you got to watch out for, and I think SOT should have that same idea in mind. Just try an all-in commit to FineOK and pull that Blink as early as possible, because the Morgan without an ult already in some trouble. The Morgan without ult and Blink, you're just a sitting duck, especially with all the tick damage that this Chalk has. You got Bluestone and you have Sunder, so it's very easy to reveal Mori out of her stealth. But currently Baskin's sitting at level 5, so if anything, might get aggressive. Yeah, he did just that. Turned into Anubis. Luckily, SOT was paying attention and just teleported out, but he wanted the kill. You know, he was definitely looking for any bit of aggression he could find, but just didn't get the stun or the wrap from that ultimate. Like I said, your Blink and your ult are down now. Look at the cooldown for FineOK. He is definitely going to be under some trouble now. I think Panatom should head right. Like, that is exactly where I'd be looking.
Would make a lot of sense, but it's a question of if they'll do it, especially now with Rat Milk lurking on this left-hand side. If Borscht get aggressive in the jungle, they have timers on buffs, and that will be the case, but they're met by Panatom. Now Rat Milk is here, gets the silence. Not a lot of damage onto anybody, but the ultimate being online for Panatom was a big difference maker. The Blink forward for the first blood for the Loki.
Play, reset the stealth, but not enough. Try and find more action in duo. Definitely enough to get that purple buff invade off, which I think is going to be a smart call. Remember, Panatom is still around, but decides to stay away from duo for the time being. So it looks like not solo lane. That's not what they're really looking. Just let FineOK kind of sit alone on an island for now. I think that's definitely a play to make because, again, even though there's no Blink or there wasn't any ultimate, duo lane is where a lot of the action is going to be at so far this game. And it's not as if SOT is in trouble, right? And he's able to confirm totems. He's got the gold camp. Like, he already has pressure over in solo, so it's not as if a kill is that important when you can help out in duo and get first blood onto the Loki in the process, which I can't imagine Cowabunga is ever complaining about. Transcendence already finished up. This Loki is going to be a growing threat.
And every time I've been on a game with you, Charlie, and, you know, Loki is Loki. Late game is gonna Loki. But every time I've been on a set with you, and it's been very high-level players like we have right here, and you've said, watch this Loki late. It's almost less about just the pure late game Loki things and more about what we end up seeing positioning wise, decision wise on who to go for picks on. And that's something where Panatom not only can, but sort of has to excel in this game. Getting caught out, not the greatest start. Did have ults online. Rat Milk considered going for the chase.
That was a choice.
It was not an execute range, and maybe just getting a bit ambitious, maybe hoping that Panatom would have been lower when he ulted away.
I just, you know, I'm not gonna fault him for that, because again, even if he was in threshold, the play would be I have to hit him in stealth. And the fact that Rat Milk is throwing that up here, I kind of love. You know,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm gonna find you, bro. Like wherever you juke, I'm gonna find you. You will be executed if you were in threshold. Doesn't end up working out, but it just shows a level of confidence that, you know what, you kind of have to have, especially if you're even picking Thanatos. I have the highest level of respect for someone that goes to Thanatos when their Vegas dreams are on the line, because it is so easy to miss one scythe, throw your early game, and get so tilted off the face of the planet that you don't want to play anymore. Like I've been there thousands of times, and it's not even really your fault. Sometimes you just read the juke wrong, you throw left, they go right, and your gank is done. Whereas Loki, again, that just doesn't happen. If someone misses Vanish, I'm roasting them, right? Like that's not like, oh, that's a god div. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? It's an auto attack. So, you know, that's not something a Panatom's ever gonna have to worry about. And of course, with Blink and Assassinate, throw Vanish in the mix as well. Just so many ways to get out of trouble.
Aurora being a pest by the speed, but is alone, uses the cage to disengage, and is still being
He's back.
a pest. I mean, just annoying Borscht at this rate. Rebel does confirm speed. Now ultimates are dropped, and Aurora will pay for being a pest. Cowabunga, and they need a new way in. They've got Rat Milk in the sky, damage on. Not really a good target either. The call is just for Borscht to walk away. Cowabunga will take the damage and lose the pick.
Yeah, he deserved that.
He definitely deserved that.
He ulted, left, and was like, what if I came back? Like, what if you didn't? Or what if you didn't come back?
And then he walked away again and said, what if I come back again?
Yeah, there was just no reason to do so. Not very tanky. You can see the first item, not beads, not Glad Shield, and we need a charm picked up for Aurora. Would help with sustain with the team, trying to match that of Yamoja, but not quite the tank stats that we are expected to see. There's the ult and the blink from Fino, trying to get out of trouble, and the dive would have been risky. I can see why they gave that one up. Notably, though, that was the Mori ult blink, not Fino K's actual blink, so he still has access to that, and that's a heads-up play to use your transformations blink as opposed to your own, because the cooldown is much, much shorter. He's got Chronos Pendant and Sands of Time. That ult's going to be back up well before 240 seconds.
Very safe laning phase for the Morgan so far, and that's pretty much the biggest thing you want from the Morgan. We talked a lot about the Loki late game. There's the proof is in the pudding of game one of what CERN late game can do, but you have got to get Morgan to that point as well. And that was one thing that I feel like Baskin was showing off really well in the previous game. So Borscht have that to look forward to, but so far, coming up on 8.5 minutes, no Gold Furies, nothing too insane, just a couple of team fights. A much calmer game than we had before.
Yeah, Gold Fury hasn't even been looked at from either squad. And remember, Borscht has been defending their purple and their speed pretty well. Like, Cowabunga has shown that they want to try and invade whenever possible. And sometimes it's went well, sometimes it hasn't. But Borscht has not been saying, oh, we'll give up left farm, we'll go for right. You guys are invading our speed, we'll invade yours. They've just been grouped up and defending up against the menace that is Cowabunga. I guess mostly Aurora has been the menace. This seems like a bit of a force here. I don't know if I like this call, but the lightning storm definitely is going to help out Aurora. Use the Ammonite Charm, got out of threshold, and that means the Ratmail can't find the execute. And that's one of the reasons this mushroom can be very impactful up against the Thanatos, because that could have been a big pick, but Ratmail can't find it.
Very much so far. Rat Milk has been neutralized from being too relevant. And in Smite 2, I feel like we've heard Lermy talk about this a few times. Thanatos feels completely different in some ways, and one of the biggest ways is when he comes online in a game. But Rat Milk in particular, I feel like has still had fairly strong early and mid games on Thanatos, despite the shift to him coming online better late. So to see him TKO'd so far like this is maybe one of the better signs for Cowabunga across the map.
So far, it's been the call. Roar taking a little bit of damage, has to jump out. Remember, Gold Fury is still a talking point here, Malum. I mean, there's a good bit of damage between Paul and Baskin. There's a good bit of damage between Yark and Pagon. There's a good bit of tank stats between Awesome Jake and Aurora. Like, I think either team, given any small bit of a play could go in for the Gold Fury. See a little bit of grouping over the left side of the map. Rat Milk is here. Thana wants to try and find purple buff invade, maybe? I mean, it spawns in 8 seconds. It looks like Rat Milk's leaving, or he's just standing around. I mean, it would be scary because you don't have eyes on Paul. This level 12 Zeus, once that lightning storm drops, it has been a mess. And what we just see there, Basket was under tower, was under a little bit of pressure, went into the death gaze thinking, hey, I'll do some damage. And then lightning storm gets dropped on your head. And you don't want to fully channel your ult anymore, right? You don't want to fully channel death gaze when you're in the lightning storm. You are getting chunked, just ticked down every couple seconds with that extra damage. And you can't really move unless you're trying to use your blink. So I can see why Baskin hasn't really stepped up and looked for any solo kills on the Paul. Not only that, Paul's got beats. He's the only one on his team who's got it, but he does have it, and it's always available.
You're combining beads and Aegis, something we can't see unless you go Talisman. So Paul extra safe, which, you know, all things considered, Paul's becoming a really good option. Oh, I mean, always was being on Zeus for Final K, but the Zeus in its current form with the Talisman, with the Aegis, is a really great option for Final K to turn into when these objective fights do happen. So, as we've heard a lot, when you start seeing the solos rotate, perhaps that's the key as to when objectives will be committed to, or let's do it right now. Gold Fury getting pulled by Cowabunga. They have knowledge of the Thanatos over in the solo lane. Jake rushing over. Baskin is busy. The call is to fight. Jake goes for the disengage. Is very stuck. The rebuke will certainly help out, but they're able to make it happen. Paul with the credit. Baskin still near, and now you've got backup as well. Rapmilk's in the sky looking for an option, but none look amazing. Sees a roar, lands down, gets the stun, gets the damage too. And Pagon will get the final auto. So this works out better for Borscht despite Cowabunga forcing the issue.
They traded their supports. I was wondering if we'd see the Gold Fury pull, but not something that Borscht is interested in. They're just trying to search, make sure there's no one backing behind them. And one of their back camps. No one's going to be hiding over there. I like the attempt, though. I thought maybe we would see a little bit more from Final K there, but Ult just wasn't going to pull pay dirt, and it seemed like SOT really even made his presence known. Gold Fury again, though, on the table here for Cowabunga. Now they've got the chalk. Only ult available is Storm Call. But will Borscht be able to step forward? Awesome Jake, the first one to walk up, and he's going to be met by the mean end of a chalk rainstorm. I don't even know if you can walk up here.
Borscht is on the losing end of a lot of resources as well, so no, they cannot step up. Cowabunga get the first Gold Fury of the game just before the clock strikes 13 minutes. A very comfortable 4,000 gold lead on top of that. And you look across the map, so 2 levels in jungle and a level and a half or so in ADC for Cowabunga. That might be more scary than even the gold lead at this point.
Definitely is, but remember, you got to think about the late game positions for both of these squads, because considering how even the game had been in game number 1 until it broke open, I mean, Cowabunga's got a pretty sizable lead just in comparison. And I would say, looking at Jingwei, looking at Zeus, looking at Loki, they're looking a lot cleaner as the game continues. It's not as if CERN and Anubis and the Morgan get worse. I'm just talking about ease of execution here. They have very easy setup. They have very easy damage. Zeus really doesn't have to put himself too far out of position to drop the lightning storm and run away. But Final K can always, you know, add that extra X factor, right? Who is he going to be transforming into late game? I think a lot of Panatom might be the call, but you could always look to find an Odin cage, which it seems like Aurora wants. Are they going in here? They absolutely are.
There's the cage. Wild Hunt, though, was really good to disperse Cowabunga and slow things down. Rapmilk is aware and on the way, but look at the gank coming from the top side of the duo lane. Final K's on the way. X going to get closer. The rebuke is perfect. Will force the airstrike out from the Jing. Aurora caught, wrapped, and executed by Ratmilk. So the call from Borscht to rotate around was for the better, and it gets the better of Cowabunga in that fight. But the biggest thing objective-wise, they can grab the Queen Naga.
And the mechanics at work here are just so clean. Xerxes Hexstone to find the perfect way to find the River's Rebuke. All the while, Ratmilk goes a frame perfect execute. Any later, and I think Aurora's jump is up. Any earlier, and he's not in threshold.
Yep.
All the while, Cowabunga trying to get the Pyromancer down before Borscht can make it, but they're doing it slow. Borscht is on the way, and Paul, are you stepping up to go for the aggressive ambush? You're going to meet more. That's a decoy, Paul. I don't think you want to be here.
The jump scare of the decoy works out perfect to back Cowabunga away. So Borscht, kind of unintentionally, put the Pyromancer to a complete halt. And Cowabunga have to look for a new opening. Aurora will continue to play that annoying way we've seen so far for Borscht to deal with. Pyro down below half health. Borscht is aware and present. Pagon in a lot of trouble and separated from the rest of the team. Aegis, the dash away, now needs a lot of help, but none's coming quite yet. And Yart will take out Pagon, but the damage in return is real good. Baskin can find one. Sot trades it back out. Solo on solo damage. Add the jungle, add the mid. 4 dead on Borscht.
I mean, why was Pagon up so far? Bro was trying to frontline as a CERN, and I would definitely be going for the free Fire Giant here. That seems like a massive overstay by the CERN. I mean, he gets chased down. Beautiful stun there for Aurora. As long as Panatom dances around, should not be dying to the Fire Giant, but they save the Fire Giant for Yard. I've brought this up so many times. All season teams are going to try and save this objective for their ADC, but Awesome Jake is around the corner. Yeah, they can't risk it. The Yamoja was close by. That was almost scary. I like the call, at least attempting to save it, but it's just too risky. When you don't have eyes on the Yemo, you might get your Fire Giant stolen. Unfortunately for Yark, not going to be able to pick it up, but you're still happy for Cowabunga to get it on 5. Already a lot back towards this Pyromancer. The rebuke goes down. I believe, yeah, still goes the way of Cowabunga. And seems like Aurora is going to pick up that Runic Bomb, no problem. So for the first time this set, we see a convincing lead in favor for Cowabunga, Malum. I do want to see a grouping towards this Gold Fury. Immediately push your lead. Look around, XP-wise. Everyone on the side of Cowabunga is ahead, except for SOT, who's even with fine okay for now.
And for SOT, that was the big thing you wanted if you were Cowabunga.
Absolutely.
Especially with how the previous game wanted. You just wanted Sot to be a viable member of the team, because if you can get to that point, Chalk is just going to chalk. So you don't need much more than that. It goes with what you've been saying. Easy and simplistic can be the best result for you, and Cowabunga is taking advantage of that. They'll grab a Gold Fury as well. That's the second one of the game. Both have gone to Cowabunga, leading 7-4. They're working on a pretty good gold lead as well. 6,000 up to this point. Leads across the map. It's looking real good right now to have been rooting on the rise back for Cowabunga. And I think it answers, too, if there was concern about starting to let some tilt in, mentals being shot after falling down to the losers bracket. This game so far has looked just as clean as Cowabunga tends to.
Not to mention, Paul was getting focused out a lot in game 1, where he had some deaths. He was, finding himself out of position. Opted to go for the Aegis on the Zeus, and is sitting at 2-0-2, top farm in the game. Like, it is still an immobile mage with a lot of damage. Like, there's not much difference in that regard, but the positioning around Zeus has been so much better, and it's not just because Paul's on a different god. Panatom is on Loki. Sot is on Chuck, right? These things create so much more safety for your mid laner that Paul is able to play to the skills that we know he has, because he's not getting dove. Final Case not constantly making it to the backline. Ratmilk doesn't get to run free. And more importantly, Baskin doesn't have freedom on this Anubis. Baskin's been in a lot of trouble, and my goodness, the Chain Lightning found its way to the backline easily there.
A flank coming out from Cowabunga. They're looking for the fight at this tier 2 tower. Jake is absolutely caught out and sent to the dirt. Pagon to follow. Ratmilk might be the last hope for this fight for Borscht to turn it around. The execute early on in. It does back up Cowabunga. And it looks like Borscht want to chase forward. Ratmilk will find another one with the help of Fine OK. They can look for Paul as well, but look to the side. Look at Aurora coming in with backup in the form of Panatom. And Borscht is going to get dropped for stepping up. Cowabunga force the D aside the duo lane.
That's why you need to be afraid. Why wasn't Paul running? Wait a second. It's the Zeus by himself, and he's running at us. Oh, yeah, the backup is still here. The Odin, the Loki, they combine. Runic Bomb goes down. Definitely a Phoenix, but no more can be found for now. You don't have someone to tank up the Titan, so it looks like Cowabunga has to back up for now. There's still tier 1 towers to go through, Malum. That's a big win for Cowabunga. They're happy to break open the base, but man, for a second there, it seemed like Borscht had some legs in that fight. It was really just because it took Panatom a while to find his engage, but once he found it, man, this Loki has definitely come online in comparison to that of Thanatos. I mean, you get your execute, you get a death sight, and then you gotta hope the rest of the team can provide something else, whereas Loki, it's kill, reset, vanish, kill, reset, and then you just keep on going forward. I still can't get that vision out of my head, though, of Paul just backpedaling and then just starting to run into 3. Like, he's like, I'm not leaving, bro. You're not. You may have killed 2, but I am not scared. I am going to continue to try and find damage, and he certainly found it.
This looks like that Paul that You know, we've been talking a lot about the start of Founder Series, and even the build-up. Cowabunga won every single tournament leading into the Founder Series. And through that time, Paul died like 2 times. At one point, we were talking about putting bounties on Paul just to see him die in the open tournaments. That move in this game so far has felt like that Cowabunga, and they've got to beat that. But Sot caught out. Baby steps back in for Borscht, but will Sot buy enough time? The rest of Cowabunga's on the way. Sot still hasn't died. We'll go down to find okay. Now the adjustment. Where do you go next? What do you look for? You way under the target to land down. It's pixel. Perfect. But it does not matter because Cowabunga is just able to turn it on its head again and drop 3. They've only lost 2, and they've got Baskin caught out, and the dog is put down. Pagon will be the last one alive. And Cowabunga yet again. When it looks like someone's in trouble, they turn it around, and that was their plan all along.
And you can just look at the death column and it tells the store that you're looking for. Borscht is able to find their picks, yes, but they're finding picks. No offense to the other 3 of Cowabunga on the members that do not matter, right? Panatom and Paul, they are the ones finishing these kills. They are the ones that are able to find the big damage, and now they are the ones who are trying to burn through the fire giant. Pagon, the only one left alive. Does he step up and go in for the steal? Looks like he's close by. There is a bit of ward coverage here. And, of course, he has let everyone know exactly where he's coming for to try and find the steal.
And maybe the scariest thing you can see turn a corner right now in this game is Paul. Oh! Almost dies, but the Aegis is perfect. Fire Giant, still done, and goes to Cowabunga. And one thing, too, Trelly, that I wanted to kind of point out before that fight, but it's still very relevant. Cowabunga has also cut off a lot of farming for Borscht, and it matters so much because we've seen that there is some fight back potential from Borscht, but they're so far behind at this point that fight back is just diminishing returns because you're not doing any damage.
Absolutely or not. Sot is here, trying to stall out. The rest of the squad is on the way. It's not a Pyromancer fight that Borscht wants, and now you're stuck in a cage if you are Bastion. See you later, and the chase continues.
Everybody panic ult and everybody's going down. That's already the whole team gone. Cowabunga just looks so good. Fine, okay, will follow. And once again, the last remaining member will be Pagon, who backs to base. The problem is, this is now 30 seconds where Cowabunga can kind of get and pick whatever they want. They might pick Pagon. They see Discern. The Wild Buck's grabbed, but this is the hardest 1v3. It is an impossible 1v3. And Cowabunga, just like that, remember who they are, and just in time to force a game number 3.
And I want to be clear about this, Malum. I don't think that Cowabunga lost confidence. I don't think that Cowabunga, was tilted. I just think they had a bad draft that really did not flex the way that they like to play, right? Giving Panatom Odin can work. It has in the past, but he is a hard carry jungler and always has been. Giving Sot Raw, he likes to play goofy picks every once in a while, but Chalk likes to W key. That's what SOT has always liked to do. Sometimes he'll die doing it, but the pressure he makes lets Paul free cast. And Paul likes to free cast. That has always been the kind of player he is. He likes to go undying, and he likes to position aggressively. And this just seemed so much more to flesh with what they are doing. Now, Borscht has to make the adaptations. Are we letting Loki through? Are we letting Paul back on Zeus? Can we let, Sot play the way he wants? We'll have to find out.
And there's one more chance now for both teams. The loser of game number 3 is done. They're going home. They're watching Vegas from their couch. The winner moves on to try to earn one more spot in the knockout land. We'll see the conclusion when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
Let me free your mind.
Welcome back, everyone, to the SMITE 2 Founders Series North American Edition Playoffs version variety. We are in a ridiculous time as of right now. We have had such a crazy bracket already. And it continues to stay crazy. Not only did Cowabunga lose game 1, but then they just came back and swung hard in game number 2. I mean, J-Mac, we're talking for a while there, 10,000 gold. I think by the end, 12, 13,000 gold in the lead. I mean, very, very commanding. This is going to a game 3,
Yep.
But we got to break into this one. They just got so far ahead so fast.
Yeah, one of the big things that we saw early in this game was putting a lot of bullying towards Final K in the solo lane. It felt like every time that I looked up, it's Final K transforming out of the Morgan into Anubis for safety. And part of that is just because of the way that the Morgan works in SMITE 2 compared to SMITE 1. In SMITE 2, you get to use whoever you transform into's relic. So if your blink is down, but you have your ultimate, you can transform into somebody else that has a blink and use their blink. And probably by the time your ultimate comes up, your blink still might not be up, so you just do it again. You just transform into another guy with a blink. So by having another ally and one that you would probably more often transform into, like in Anubis, having that blink gives Final K a lot of safety there, but that's why so much pressure was put on this Morgan to prevent Final K from getting the farm that he needed. And then the biggest problem that falls out of all of this score is that there's only one dedicated tank on the team, and that's Awesome Jake, who's not really the initiator. Yamoja can be an initiation style guy. It can be your one who walks up and tries to get in the middle and do all the brawling. But you want to be saving your Omi for your Riptides, for your heals, to keep things up. You want to be using the River's Rebuke to try and cut off paths, not used in the middle of a fight as a, guys, we got to get out of here kind of a moment. And every time it felt like we were watching those Riptides go up, it's a Roar falling with his own giant cage, his own giant box to put people inside of it. There really just wasn't a great answer to on the side of Borscht. You know, Final K started falling behind. We never got to see Rat Milk get online. And in the late game team fights, anytime Rat Milk was getting into the middle of a fight, well, he ran into a Zeus. And Zeus is not a fun god to run into whenever Paul's building it full int and just absolutely slamming everybody in his way. And because of this, it just led to one domino effect after another. The smallest one falls down, and then now it's the last one's falling. We're into game number 3, which if Borscht go back to this Morgan, they need to have more of a cohesive plan with it, because it felt like when you grabbed the Morgan as a first pick, I thought this was going over to Basket. Didn't even take into account the fact that Anubis was picked up after, and that there could have been the possibility of this Morgan not going into the mid for Basket. So I think if you go back to that pick, probably should go in Basket's hands, but I think you need to have a better team composition to work around the Morgan.
Well, the best place to work on your team composition is where team compositions are made. Picks and Bans, game number 3 again. And this it feels weird to say this with these two teams specifically. When you read these names, one of these teams loses here and is out of the tournament. Period. Permanently. Gone. Outies. And so, Borscht, Cowabunga, the pressure is on and growing. And the question is going to be, who will win game number 3? And then they have to move on. They have to play another set after this to try and qualify. Again, the pressure is on. And what is their answer? It is going to be Borscht first pick, Cowabunga in the second pick slot. Sobek and Loki are the two bans.
Let's liven
And a little
things
bit of
up,
thinking
shall we?
time. Baron Samedi was banned out where that Loki was last time. And since he's made it through, Borscht have actually opted to first pick that god.
I think a much better first pick option, because Baron doesn't really reveal too much of your hand. You can play him mid, you can play him solo, you can play him support. All that you know is that there is a Baron Samedi on the enemy team, and you have to find some kind of way to answer to it in no matter which lane it goes. I think Chalk is a good answer if you're going to have it run against him solo. You have similar levels of self-sustain to where for a Baron, he's got a hit an ability. Like, he's actually got to physically hit somebody with an ability to get the heal. Chalk just presses his heal, and he's good to go. He's going to sustain up no problem. But keeps that level of wave clear out there just to keep themselves alive as well. This does leave open the possibility of danger of having a Baron-Morgan combo again for Borscht, because this won them game number 1. That's the winning combination that worked so well for Borscht in game 1, and they have the option to go with it again here. Thanatos being locked in means you're going to have some potential hyper carry a little bit late game. You get those executes online. It's going to be great for these tanky targets. And the emoji's going to add another level of sustain. With Sobek gone, the only really good answer for extra anti-heal on hand is Bacchus. But Bacchus isn't really that good right now. I mean, if you're talking 2 months ago, yeah, snap pick Bacchus. Doesn't matter. Do anything that you want. And then the other answer to that is Odin, who has the true anti-heal. You drop a giant cage on him and you don't got to worry about him. This is a good answer back now for Cowabunga. And with Odin's level of flexibility, you can throw him over into Solar Troll's hands, or you can give him to Panatom to play in the jungle.
What I'm really excited to watch is this difference, and I feel like I saw some people mentioning this in chat, but the difference between Paul on the Zeus and Paul on the Anubis was like really big. And so getting Paul back on the Zeus, that is what I am cheering for here. The Chalk, the Odin, the Jingwei, you had mentioned it. It feels like this is a team. It's very easy to make fun of big circles, but there's a lot of big circles. And guess what? They all come together. We'll see what Cowabunga are able to do with that again alongside the Jingwei. And the Morgan picked up. J-Mac, you had wanted a team that was built better around her, and you know, maybe I'm wrong. Yamoja's pretty supporty, so I imagine that's a duo lane god, which means
Pretty
the Baron
good.
needs somewhere to go. And while I feel like we have seen him
I'll give you
sometimes
this
in
last
mid,
chance to
he's
run.
leaned more solo when he's not in support. So I expect this to be, what, presumably a mid Morrigan.
Yeah, most likely this one going back to Baskin like you had in game number 1. Give Fine OK the Baron over in the solo lane, and then obviously the Emoji pops over that way. Susano as a last pick for Cowabunga is interesting because now this means that Odin's going to be going back to Aurora in the support role instead, then throwing Chalk over into the solo. But we haven't really seen a lot of Susano as of recent. He's kind of fallen out of favor, but has some good matchups into Thanatos. He's very mobile, has very good ways of trying to escape the execute if need be, and to really kind of play that mind game against the Thanatos. So it's going to be a lot of wait on to Panatom to really get the ball rolling early to try and slow down Rat Milk and keep Borscht from getting to late game.
Well, where we are at now, Borscht 1, Cowabunga 1. Whoever wins this one gets to move on to continue fighting for their chance to go to land. It is do or die, and the only way to find out who's going to do what is to jump down to our casters.
Thank you, Gore. Thank you, J-Mac, and welcome in. Game number 3 is here. Somebody's gotta go, and somebody has to move on and fight for the chance at the knockout land. Borscht, Cowabunga, it's Malum and it's Trelly to bring the action to you. And my favorite thing about these situations, the win or die situations, you get to see what a team is willing to risk their season on. Their favorite selections you'd hope to see, and to see it be Morrigan and Thanatos on Borscht's side shocks me, but Cowabunga's draft, Trelly, I think we're both a huge fan of.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Thanatos obviously isn't shopping. That's just Rat Milk, right? He just loves Thana. But the Morrigan from Baskin, it had some ups, it had some downs. We will see. Was able to see some success here. Aurora is going to walk into the majority of Borscht here for a second. I do wonder though, because again, you have to consider they've already played against a good bit of this draft, and Borscht went to this composition, right? Like, okay, we know Paul. We just faced the Chalk. We just faced this Zeus. We just faced this Odin. There's a lot that we already know what to expect from, but there is some question marks, right? The Susano was brought up by the desk. I immediately loved that pick just because, again, Thanatos was taken away by Cowabunga. They were not giving over an easy jungler over to Borscht again, so just run back to Thana. And then going into Susano last pick tells me that either A, Panatom's been practicing playing it, even though it's kind of fallen out of favor a bit, or B, just felt good in this matchup. There's a lot that you can do with it to escape the Thana, as J-Mac was mentioning, but also this Baron pick that has been such a thorn in the side of Cowabunga. Susano doesn't care too much about it, right? You've got so much mobility, so you're not going to be getting sucked in by life of the party too often. But do you have the ability to get in and get out, find kills, and retreat? That's what Panatom was doing all last game. And we'll have to see if Susano can match that same level that Panatom was able to dish out in game number 2.
I was going to say, too, let's not get too far removed also from what the Baron did. And while we are paused, and we'll get back in soon, there's a lot of questions with the Baron. In game number 1, the Baron caused so much chaos across the map. Early game, and you had pointed this out, it was Baron's brews being thrown left and right. It was a minefield for everybody to avoid in lane. And then the later and later that we got into the game, we saw more and more double Baron situations. We saw the ultimate being used to essentially just cause chaos. And one thing that's really good in a high pressure situation, if you're able to cause that chaos and control the battleground the way that we saw in game 1, that could be a huge strength for Borscht.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that who Baskin decides to transform into is also going to be interesting, because remember in game number 1, it was a whole lot of just copying. It was kind of just copying Paul's Anubis, but now Paul's on Zeus. Do you really want to turn into Zeus? Do you want to go into something like the Thanatos, or do you want to go into something like the Susano? All decent options. Once again, only one Sunder for us from Jake, and 2 heading over for Cowabunga. So early invades are going to be on the table. A lot of times Rat Milk has just soloed this speed, and Aurora and Yark have just taken the purple buff. It seems like they're trying to match that. All the while, they got an awesome Jake going in for the proxy. They've got Yamoja. They can do this really whatever they want.
So it's an even start across. It's signature picks in the jungle, comfort, kind of over meta in both instances, at least a little bit for sure. Sot steals away the red from Fine OK, basically in the face of Borscht. So a big pickup there, especially when you consider kind of how this map has traded spaces, which has been a really interesting meta development this weekend of playoffs overall.
Got so much potential find early aggression. I mean, there's been a lot of attempted at kills. Remember, in mid, we saw all the blinks come out at once. There is certainly potential at level 2 here to find some sort of action. Be scary. Death Scythe could come through. It definitely does. And there's the first play and the double barrels, bro. Rat puts it up. My goodness, man. Even with the blink, you hyped up the brew, and for good reason, and it's not over.
Not at all. Let's throw in duo as well. Why not go out with a blast? And Borscht are starting off the game in the perfect way that you ever could. The fadeaways, I mean, those threes were hidden in the mid lane. The Baron's Brew pulls up gigantic first blood and a second blood for Borscht. As good of a start as you could want if you're rooting for Borscht right now.
Yeah, I mean, the second I saw Phantom dash, I'm like, surely he's going to blink out, but he let himself get stunned, Death Scythe, and then blinked. I don't know. I just think he may have overcommitted just a bit there. And I mean, I don't think, I know, and I think we all do now that the first blood came through, but the double Baron's Brew. Sparks flying already on the battleground. Borscht up 2-0. They've got a lead in duo. They've got a lead in the jungle. And honestly, it may be a hot take, but Rat Milk may be the person I would pick to have the first blood every day of the week. Like, don't get me wrong. Fino had a fantastic game 1. Pagon can certainly find his own strengths in duo. Baskin's been looking great at times as well. But Rat Milk is the decision maker. Rat Milk is the guy that dictates the pace of the game. And I'm happy this Thanos isn't the one to pick up that first blood.
And he has to be. He absolutely has to be. We've talked about this kind of all season is Rat Milk has to step up and be on that same level. There's been games where it's happened. We even saw that at Worlds qualifiers for the last SMITE 1 Worlds. There was games where Rat Milk was stepping up and making a fan base on a team that at the time nobody had heard of, that just qualified basically for the knockout land, that formerly Shabala Storm, that basically became Food Drive for Globe minus Rat Milk. But this has to be that game. It absolutely has to be if you want to make it work. A look at Paul, but not going to find it. And Baskin goes, my bad.
I mean, that's the thing. There's a few options you could have had to look for an ult there. I don't think any of them would have worked because Paul had blink, but you know, the Baron had the best chance of pulling the blink and not committing too much to diving the tower. But Paul just ran away immediately and had the movement speed to get out of range of anything that was going to be coming through. Now a little bit less safety awarded to Baskin. Will we find some aggression because of it? Have to tell. I don't see any action in mid lane for now. Red buff spawning in, so probably just heading on back. But a little bit of a temp of a purple buff here. But Phantom is behind you. Pagon's in trouble.
He has ult as well. Gets a knock up onto Pagon. The turnaround. Will that damage be enough? Not at all. Panatom able to find the first kill for Cowabunga, and it's on to Pagon. A massive pickup right when you wanted it too for Cowabunga, because we talk about Rat Milk grabbing them. You'd love to have as many on Panatom as possible. Speaking of Rat Milk, he's here looking to defend his support. Baskin lurking is enough to send Cowabunga away, and Borscht go back to their own jungle.
Man, and think about this. Whatever team wins this game still has one more to go, right? Like, this has been a long time coming through the losers bracket. Even losing in semifinals, like you have been back and forth every step of the way, just blow after blow. And now you still have to keep going. You have to keep your mental high for such a long time. Not easy to do. Both teams are looking clean. Of course, Borscht still pulling ahead gold-wise. But you just got to remember, this is not the first and only set these guys have played today, and they still have more to go. But they're only focusing on the game in front of them. At the moment, you've got Thanatos. You've got Rat Milk. Doesn't have any potential over in left lane. Hasn't had to use Hovering Death just yet. But remember, Rat Milk's a guy who likes to throw up ults whenever possible, just to see if he can make something of it. There's a speed buff spawning over on left. Aurora may be the target here. Definitely in threshold, but can he find it?
Turns back, lands down. Jake actually with the kill, but it works out regardless for Borscht. You'd be happy to have that on the Thanatos, but in this situation, it definitely does not matter. You'll take the positives where you can get them, and the positives are looking strong. It's a really strong start for Borscht as early as 5 minutes in. Compared to how the previous game was looking, it's more similar to game 1, and if you're a Borscht fan, hearing those words should really excite you, because game 1, Borscht looked like it made both teams look like, why are they in the losers bracket?
I mean, I think a lot of teams are going to be saying that regardless, just watching these guys, but they made it here anyways. And just because there's been a lot of talent in NA, trying to find that number 3 selection is the call. Warhorn goes down. Gold Fury hasn't even been looked at just yet. There's a lot of walls. Once again, that, the fact that we've seen these picks time and time again tells me that Phantom Shell is not on the brain of really anyone in this matchup currently. Blink just becomes so much more valuable. Yarkor and Pagon are the only ones that have been holding on to this shell, and they're over in duo lane. So if you fight anywhere that's not around duo, the Odin case, the River's Rebuke just becomes so much more easy to find value for. Once again, Aurora trying to show us that he wants to find a little bit of aggression over and left. But again, the Yamoja, man, anti-heal has been such a conversation as well. This isn't like, the raw solo, but Baron does have a lot of sustain baked into the kit as well. Anti-heal is definitely something that Cowabunga is going to have to watch out for.
Some time to talk builds early on. You can see the 1,700 experience and 1,800 gold. That does equal a difference in what you're seeing get built and grabbed up. Your levels are getting further, easier to farm camps. And the big difference I'm seeing is jungle, an Avatar's Parashu for Rat Milk versus a Transcendence for Panatom building for that late game.
Just trying to stack it up. Queen Naga started up. So, hey, maybe the first true objective of the game has begun. Paul's nearby. He knows this is happening. A chain lightning, a lightning storm, any bit of damage would be enough to steal. Here comes Aurora. Can we find anything or just a steal on the objective? It looks like we might see a grouping.
Just now leashed, so it's back to 1,000 health. That might buy some time for Borscht to get back in. They do not. Cowabunga get themselves the Queen Naga, but the fight looks okay. Paul's already disengaged. Panatom looks for Pagon and Rat Milk. Got the hit on Rat Milk, but could not get the kill. Now you've got Baskin back into the fight as well. You've got all the pulls coming out from Fine OK and Baskin. Fine OK's works. Aurora's gone. Pagon lives, and Baskin goes for the escape. Panatom trying to blink through and live, but gets caught by Fine OK for the double kill for the solo laner of Borscht. The rotation is paying dividends.
Man, Fine OK is on point on this Baron. I wouldn't be surprised if the fight's not over. There's the death scythe. A lot of damage coming, but the Phantom Shell is clean. Saw it.
No ult.
Gets that with a little bit of HP as well. Man, this Baron. Clean gameplay from Fine OK. Shows up, gets the blink out of Paul. Doesn't waste the life of the party, though. Still able to use it to find the pull onto Aurora, and then just spams his abilities on the rest of the squad. I mean, considering the gameplay that we saw in game number 1, I'm surprised that Fine OK was able to grab this pick again. But, Borscht fans are happy that it's coming through. 5-1. The lead doesn't quite reflect that, but still, there is some extra gold in the pocket of Borscht, and they have been driving the pace of this game, at least so far. Amanita Charm was once again picked up from Aurora, and that was not enough to save him last time. I don't believe it was finished, but this Odin is falling further and further behind, Malum.
It could end up being really problematic, too, because one thing we didn't get to see a lot of last game was Rat Milk taking Aurora out of the fight early, because Aurora had kept up in level with Rat Milk, because Rat Milk was really behind. So Aurora was so tanky for so long, there wasn't really many opportunities to get that sneaky execute on the support, taking advantage of the health threshold and then using that to steamroll the rest of the fight. This game, those odds are looking much better for the Thanatos of Borscht, but you got to find it somewhere. Jake got really aggressive in the jungle, but is completely unbothered, unfazed, and barely damaged at that, but not going to stop all the posturing. Soul Laner's here as well on the left-hand side. So the calm before the storm, we'll see how long it lasts. Rebuke out, not going to find a home. Life of the party looks to see what they can find too, but the lightning storm is causing some problems, and some setup is there regardless. Rat Milk lands down, finds the double kill for Borscht, and the Thanatos is already cooking for Borscht, and Cowabunga have to retreat back, Paul and Yark.
And they are playing like such a well-oiled machine. Borscht is constantly grouping up. Fine, okay. Always in the right position to help out his team. And as you mentioned it, Rat Milk does not miss. 3-0-4 for awesome Jake. It's very easy to go to the shiny kills, the good plays, but Jake has been a part of the most out of anyone. This Yamoja is an absolute unit. I mean, the amount of CC, you said the calm before the storm. The lightning storm got dropped, and there was some good damage from it, but just could not net a kill. Panatom is getting absolutely bullied. One thing that you forget when you do pick something like Susano, you don't have that level of CC immunity, and no one has beads yet. Just now, the moment I said it, Paul finished picking up beads. but it has been CC on a Susano and just try and find the kill immediately before he gets the chance.
And as important as a talisman, of course, is for Zeus, and as good as it's been throughout the tournament, it still does slow down the damage that you do. An Avatar's Parashu popped, life of the party too. This is problematic for Sot, but the torn away is good. You do need to have that damage at some point or another. And I mean, I will say, if I'm Cowabunga, if there's one thing, if I could put myself in the shoes of Cowabunga, if my season's on the line where I've been the favorite and, you know, you don't want to face that disappointment, let that upset come true. If I had to put Paul on a couple of characters, but the options in Smite, Zeus is up there for me. So you're feeling good if you can get late enough and well enough. But so far, Borscht is definitely cutting them off at that head.
Yeah, and you got to pay attention to Fine OK. Watch this Baron. Is he over in solo lane? Yes, so there probably isn't any action happening. If we see the Baron rotate out, there will be success for Borscht. If Cowabunga fights when Fine OK is not there, I can see them trying to, climb back into this race. It's not overwhelming in favor of Borscht at the moment. You can kind of look around and see where the lead's at. Panatom not doing too great. Fine OK's got a level lead. Basket and Paul remain even. Awesome Jake's got that 2-level lead. And then Pagon's sitting at 1 for the time being. But with that being said, the rotations are still crisp. I don't think that there's too much danger here for Sod, as we just saw. Life of the party just trying to pull out the torrent, even with Rat Milk lurking, and execute is few and far between here. That's a healthy chalk, and I don't think he's in too much danger. Regardless, though, Borscht is pretty telegraphed in what they want to do. They say, hey, we're a better team fight. We're going to group up as 5. We don't care about your cages. We don't care about your damage. We are just going to out-sustain you. So Divine, Ruins, Brawlers, all of that needs to be prioritized. You can see Brawlers, tier 2 anti-heal from Paul, and Aurora already picked up. So the anti-heal's coming through. Not quite online just yet, but there's a little bit of it.
A lot of damage on Baskin, stunned out, but not close enough to be caught by Cowabunga. Also, speaking of items, got to point out Cersei's Hexstone online for Jake. That was incredibly useful in the very first game of this set for Jake to reposition, get closer for the River's Rebuke a couple of times, and it all worked out. We'll see if that continues. But for the time being, Trelly, it feels like we've got a little bit of breathing room, and I don't know about you, I'm not going to take that for granted in this game.
Yes, take some time to relax. Because Gold Fury spawning in here shortly. Pantom and Yark hugging the wall. Pagon, you just walked into a trap. Can you stall before the team gets here? If anything, Pagon's fighting this.
And it's working, and Rat Milk's here for backup as well. We'll take to the sky.
No
Not
blink.
an easy look. Panatom pre-charges the ult. The land is still good from Rat Milk, and Panatom will fall. Rat Milk turns for the fight more, but gets knocked up and shut down by Yark. But the escape from Airstrike will not be good. And Baskin will make Yark pay with some help from Fine OK on the rotation. So a 2-for-1 favoring Borscht.
Wow. I mean, first of all, Pagon, zero fear, walked around the corner and decided to fight whoever he saw there. If it was just jungle for jungle, Cowabunga's jumping for joy. They get a 4-0 shutdown. They lose their 1-3 jungler. Who cares? But unfortunately, you also lose Yarkor, who, guess what? Got caught by the ult from Fine OK. This Baron still making his presence known all the way on the other side of the map. Gold Fury spawns in any second now, and it's going to be pulled by Borscht. Cowabunga is here. Sot is still a menace and is not going to die easily. But do you have any sort of steal potential? Pagon's heading over. It's going to be a true 5v5 if they do decide to pull, but I don't see any reason why not. Borscht wants to fight. That's the difference here. Cowabunga wants to stall. Borscht, they want to get in there.
Biggest ult on cooldown would definitely be Rat Milk, because that's been so impactful so far. The life of the party, that was not on cooldown. Sot is. Grayscale time for the soul laner of Cowabunga, and Gold Fury is up and being pulled by Borscht, and the answers from Cowabunga are now few and far between to that Gold Fury. Without Sot, the interest diminished.
Gold Fury up, Gold Fury down. Second one in favor of Borscht. And Sot, the thing is about this pick is you are incredibly safe if you're not, just spamming axes, but what Sot's been doing is throwing the axe down, using the rain, and then walking up. And you can't really do that. Not when Fine OK's around, because Life of the Party is going to catch you every single time. Aurora's here, trying to steal the Pyromancer, but knows he can't get active. And Baskin stepping forward. Oh my goodness, Aurora can't even jump. The Polymorph I mean, Mountain, this is looking like a blowout here.
It is. This is supposed to be Cowabunga. They won everything up to this point. They were unstoppable. People were already putting Team Risk versus Cowabunga in the finals, and Borscht will hear none of it. On the landing, fine, okay, finds a double kill. That's 3 dead on Cowabunga in the mid lane. There is nothing they can do right now to slow down Borscht.
Fire Giant could be the call. Yeah, Pyromancer's here. I want to walk right past it. And that's exactly what they do. Is anyone from Cowabunga going to walk up for the steal? It'd be risky business at this point. I'd probably be going for farm if I was Cowabunga. And that is exactly what they're going to do. 16 minutes in. And there's 2 kills on the board for Cowabunga. 4-0-6 for Fino. 3-0-8 for Awesome Jake. And about a 9,000 gold lead in favor of Cowabunga, or sorry, in favor of Borscht against Cowabunga. I'm just so used to saying it at this point, but
I know,
it's not happening
we're broken
here.
records. It's insane how quickly things can change. I genuinely cannot believe what I'm seeing, and I'm somebody who was looking at Borscht and I was comfortable saying, oh yeah, this will be a team that once they figure out their roster, they'll be competitive, but never would I have had them dominating Cowabunga in a game overall, but let alone both teams in the losers bracket. But they're stepping up. Fine, okay. You can tell Fine, okay wants this land.
Yep.
Ratmilk still proving who he is, and this is the kind of game where you do it, and it's proving to work out for Borscht. But now it comes down to the other side, the stress of holding on to it. And Cowabunga, you don't want to be that team that won everything but the big stuff.
Awesome Jake. Use the ultimate. Try to catch out Yarkor. Oh, man. I mean, this is going to take a while. Yark can go over the wall here. He's got time to try and juke, but this ultimate was always going to come through to chase him down. Oh, my goodness, man. Fine OK is an absolute menace on this pick, and Rat Milk was always going to be there.
Wow.
Man, this is something. I mean, it is not lost on me, the fact that Cowabunga is on the ropes here. Borscht, they have all the control in the world. Panatom just trying to find farm. It's going to be up to Paul. I mean, they don't have any wave clear here. Panatom does have the farm that he needs. It took him a while to get it. But it's going to be about, can Sot stay alive and can Paul get a massive lightning storm off to try and keep these birds up?
Here we go. Borscht stepping into the Phoenix. The lightning storm to slow them down is tickling, but life of the party, it is doing damage. Sot trying to find something, gets the storm call across, but gets CC'd and gets dropped by who? By Ratmilk. That's who.
No way.
Aurora's not getting away either. Ratmilk will throw in the throne room as Borscht is ready to follow up, and they're dropping all of Cowabunga, who's now on death's door and getting desperate. It's up to Paul and Panatom to hold on.
Fino's ult not available. He's going to have to stall for a bit. Right side bird is down, and it looks like the smart call for Panatom and Paul. Stay in your base. Do not leave the Titan room. The 10,000 goal difference. 1 Phoenix down. I like the call from Borscht to back up. They didn't have the damage to end. Even if they got a kill, it would have been risky. They've got Gold Fury to think about. They have Fire Giant online for a while. Why not? Just keep knocking down these towers. You are just delaying before you have to go in for that end game siege. But man, the tanks on the side of Cowabunga are just not tanky. Like, Sot is not surviving, and Ratmilk playing the teleport perfectly, just waiting for Sot to try and throw the axe out, and was there to meet him with a death scythe in the face, and then a roar in his own well. Was sitting there spawn camping, just takes out a roar before he can get the heal. Man's a menace. Again, we brought this up earlier, Malum, the fact that when your season is on the line, I cannot stress enough, this is not the game to go to Vegas. You still got to win one more after this. Still, Ratmilk goes to Thanatos and looks great on it.
Like you said, this isn't the end of the road in terms of advancing. If you win, you have to still face Scrumptious, who, talk about a stressful spot, to be lying in wait and watching the back and forth of this and not knowing who you're going to face. But if you lose, that's it. That's it. And for Cowabunga, I can't imagine the willpower required right now. to get through the idea of what could happen here. You know, you've won everything. You were everyone's favorite. I mean, people were wanting T-shirts with the word Cowabunga on it. They were so popular.
I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't do my job here. So I will say, Paul has not had real damage, and Paul has not had pen until just now. Divine Rune gets you 5%, but Obsidian Shard is a night and day difference. Yarkor has Kins and Executioner online now. These are big items.
And
These
despite
are
it all,
power
the
spikes.
setup's still been good from Cowabunga.
Right, and think about how many Chain Lightnings we've seen that were tickling. Those will do a bit more damage now. If Borscht is a bit overzealous and try and just tank Lightning Storms, it's going to do more damage now than it ever has.
And we saw that in the last fight too.
Yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. Sot, of course, level 15, a non-factor. No one is Aegising, no one is, threatened. There is no Aegis in the game, but no one is threatened by this chalk damage. Sot is there to stall. That is his main goal. Panatom, level 19, actually has a level lead over Rat Milk and finished Heartseeker. There are some big power spikes that have been gained. And now, try to grab this tier 2, get back to defend your mid Phoenix. That's the call here for Cowabunga. Can they make it back in time? It looks like they've got plenty.
And the call to defend the middle Phoenix, that's where you're hedging your bets. But the Fire Minion waves are pushing in from the right-hand side. So Cowabunga also has to contest that. Their right Phoenix is up soon. That's where Paul is right now, in that right lane. Borscht, go under the mid Phoenix. It's gone as soon as they get there. And Cowabunga can just sit back and try to wait it out. It looks like they will get their solo Phoenix back up, as Borscht is not walking over there so far.
Yeah, Fire Giant is going to run off soon. You got to think. But they do have time. They do have time to make their push. And it does seem like they're going to go ahead and push into left lane. I'm going to be honest with you. I forgot this is a different Fire. I thought this was the same one. They already got the second one. So they have plenty of time. I lied to you. It's not going to wear off. And they can just rip Tide forward. Why not? You can see Yarkor's over and right. So yeah, left bird is definitely the call here.
Still a strong wave in the right lane as well. Those Minotaurs do work to get their way to the Phoenix. So Cowabunga have to be aware of everything on this defense, because this defense is everything that they've worked for so far. All those tournament wins don't mean a thing if you fall here on the road to Vegas. And for Borscht, this win can mean everything, because you still have a life to live. You get to play against Scrumptious to earn that land, but it's got to happen on that first move. And who's going to blink first?
The call. Are you waiting for Sot? Are you waiting for Fine? Okay, are you just trying to get the Phoenix? That seems to be the play here. Panatom trying to wrap around the backline. A big Typhoon into a big cage could be the call. Phantom Shell already used. That's big. If we get a big Odin Zeus combo, that could be massive here for Cowabunga. There's only one Phantom Shell, Malum, and Pagon just got baited into using it.
The Minotaur's got to the right. Phoenix is going to go down at any moment. Mid Phoenix already down, so the call for Borscht could be to step in and finish off this left bird to leave no bird standing. But there's the Odin cage, there's the Zeus ultimate, and there's the damage coming out from Cowabunga. Rat Milk to the sky. The chips are on the table. Who's going to get the better of it? Borscht, so far, they start off great. They bring down Sot. The left Phoenix will fall. No more Phoenixes left for the defense on Cowabunga. Paul will blink away, trying to buy time to stay alive for this defense. Aurora caught, but tanky enough to hang on.
There are no Phoenixes left. Titan has to drop down. Borscht is here, and they are going in for the end call.
Borscht want it. They want to eliminate Cowabunga. The dream season, the golden road. It's going to be ended right here by Borscht. The double in the fountain. Borscht will take it 2-1 and move to the losers finals, and Cowabunga are gone from the SMITE 2 Founder Series.
That is insane. There is so much to highlight here from Borscht. A lot goes unnoticed. Of course, we were hyping up this Baron pick. Of course, we were hyping up Rat Milk. But I think the sleeper carry of this last game, Awesome Jake, man, this Yamoja, so many Riptides there to just set up the damage. Early pressure galore. I don't think Pagon had to click an auto attack that was not set up for him because of how on point Awesome Jake was. It was just a very well played game, a very well played set from Borscht. And I have to remind you, I mean, you can relish in your victory, but the road is not over. For Cowabunga, it is. Your journey in the Founder Series is done. You will not be making it to Vegas. but that was just a stepping stone.
It's so
Borscht still
I just watched it. I can't believe you said that.
they still have another best of 3 to get through. And listen, Cowabunga was that top echelon, the biggest threat imaginable, but that's no longer the case. They've been beaten twice now. Scrumptious, that is not going to be easy either. And I can't believe we have another set to cast, man.
I know there's still another to go, but Borscht, they've already made the impossible certainly seem possible, but they have one more challenge to cross before they make it to the land themselves. What else am I supposed to say? I got nothing for you. I mean, we have more around the corner, so for sure, do not go anywhere.
That's right. Make sure you're here. Make sure you keep on watching. JMac 2-1. And not just 2-1, but I'll say that last one, pretty commanding too, right? I mean, pretty dominant all around. Borscht look great. And here's some words I legitimately did not expect to say. We say goodbye to Cowabunga from the Founders Series.
I'm still in disbelief.
Yeah, this guy, he don't got no words.
This is literally a team, and I know I harped on it. This is going to sound like bias. I'm going to sound biased when I say this. We have been doing nothing but praising and heralding this team, Cowabunga, for being the best team in North America that everybody has to find an answer to, that everybody's got to figure out how in God's name do we beat this team to try and make it to land. And it has now happened not just once, but twice. And with Borscht, it's even, I would say, maybe more impressive just because of how much this team roster has flopped around with who's going to play where, who's going to even play on the team. Again, we're looking back 2 weeks before they qualify out of Swiss, and they're on their last set with one of their players before he moves on. That troll match that we go back to and talk about with Borscht, where it's just like, these guys might lose to, not necessarily no names, but like some really low-seeded team. They're having fun because that was Panda Cat's last set with the team, and they decided, let's go out on a bang. Let's have a little bit of fun. And then they have to reorganize all their team again in week 5 of Swiss, then take 2 weeks off and come back into this event, and they're playing like this? This is how these guys are going to play? Cowabunga had a whole month to figure out what they want to do, how they're going to play, and they just didn't show up. Plain and simple, they just didn't show up. They got outplayed on field, and more than anything, they got outdrafted twice hard by Borscht in this set. Game 1 and Game 3 were not just won on the battleground. This was won in the picks and bans. I called it at the end of Game 1. I said, you cannot let Baron and Morrigan on the same team together with any semblance of damage around it, because you're just asking for death. There was a fight in mid lane where there's a Baron in the back at tier 1 tower of their team and a Baron at the back of enemy tier 1 tower just to try and keep everything going. How do you stop that? How do you fight against it, number one, and you just don't let it happen again?
What's wild is if you've been watching any of our Smite Too Long Didn't watches, and while I talk about this, let's look at the bracket. Because Cowabunga is gone. Our discussion, our talks, everything.
They're gone.
We've been talking about, oh, you know what? I'm really excited to see Cowabunga versus Team Risk. Like 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row, we've said something like that. I mean, it was true. It won't happen. We'll never see that because Cowabunga have been eliminated. You can see up the top, before I continue with the what's going on. Team name, but with 5 M's, did 2-0 Food Drive for Globe. That is our seeding match. So the number 1 seed going into the LAN, the knockout stage, is going to be Team name, but with 5 M's. Number 2 is Food Drive for Globe. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes of it all. Scrumptious, who 2-0'd Kitty Party after losing 2-0 just earlier today, were waiting patiently. Maybe cold hands at this point, honestly, as Borscht and Cowabunga duked it out. They needed an opponent. They needed somebody, and it is Borscht who eliminate the favorite team of everything for all of it, and Cowabunga, and move forward. Now, Borscht and Scrumptious, last 2 teams standing in the losers and in general here for the playoffs, and JMac, one of them will move forward. The other one will go home.
Now, if you rewind to last weekend, Gore, that was a quarterfinal match with Scrumptious and Borscht.
Yeah.
And Scrumptious won 2-1. This is a wildly different Borscht roster. This is a reinvigorated and a Borscht team that just defeated the former #1 seed coming in. These guys are playing hot right now. Not to say that Scrumptious isn't, but after what we saw from Scrumptious earlier today, that did not look like the same level and same caliber of team that we're seeing from Borscht right now. For Scrumptious, they have got to step up in this next matchup if they want to make it to LAN, because if they're going to struggle against Borscht, imagine what these other teams are going to potentially do to them whenever they get to the LAN setting.
Yeah, look, no matter what, this is forged in fire, right? Whoever qualifies here is going to be a damn good SMITE team just because they had to be in order to get there. It's going to be insane to watch. But before we get into it, this is actually a perfect time to I haven't said this in a while. Go grab some drinks, grab some snacks. You're probably going to need them at this point. It's getting late in the day, and we still got one more set to go. It's do or die. It's Borscht on a run right now. We'll see if they can take down Scrumptious or if it'll go the other way around right on the other end of this quick break.